Now we have all of our content types. We have a block with a view in it. We're almost ready to begin the actual upgrade process. There's just one more thing we're going to do, and that is to create a panel page. This is just one more thing that we can have on the site to make sure we've upgraded properly. For this panel, let's make it, this is going to be kind of an arbitrary panel page, but let's make a page that lists event previews and then has a list of events in the column next to it. Again, this is somewhat random, but it'll give us something to check. So first, let's go to Site Building and Views. We're going to add a new view. We'll call this view event underscore info. And for the view description, we'll say this is a list of event previews. View type node. Next. And let's set our filters first. As always, we want to make sure that everything we list on here is published. That's one of the things I like about views on Drupal 7 is it comes with published yes as a default setting under filters. And then we want to get the node type or the content type. And that's all we're going to filter by. So we're going to add those. And for node published, we want that to be yes. And for the node type, we want event preview. Click update. Now, of course, as this message is telling us, we need fields. So let's go ahead and add those next. Let's just go with, how about a trimmed version of the body? So not comment body, but node body. And as always, we'll want the node title. We'll add that. We don't need a label. We do want to trim this field to a maximum length. Let's say we want it to be 200 characters. We'll keep it trimmed only on a word boundary. We'll add an ellipsis. And everything else on here should be fine. So we'll update that. Now we're working with the title. We can remove that label as well. Want to make sure that this field is linked to its node. And that's all fine. Now let's rearrange these so that the title appears before the body. And let's set some sort criteria. Let's say that we want the most recent event previews to be at the top of the list. So we're going to scroll down to node post date. Add that. And we're going to set to descending. Descending, of course, will be highest to lowest. The highest dates are the later dates, the most recent dates. Those will be at the top, and then they'll descend to the older content. Granularity second is what we want. So we'll update. And that's just about all we're going to do. We see we have our title, which is linked, and a trimmed version of the body. And these are sorted in order, in the order that they were posted. Let's give our view a title. We'll call this event info for this view. Update that. Now, as always in Drupal 6, these first set of configuration options we're working with are merely the defaults. We haven't actually created a view display yet. So let's go ahead and create a block. Since we're working with panels, we'll really be able to work with a block or a page. I tend to find blocks a little bit easier to work with and a little bit more natural feeling if it's something that you're placing in a panel. So we'll add this display. And all of our default settings will be fine. We can go down here and look at the preview again just to make sure, and that, of course, looks just like we want it. So we'll save this view. All right, so now that we have that, let's go to Site Building and Panels. we're going to create a new panel page. And for the administrative title, let's just call this Events and Event Info. For the machine name, let's go with events underscore and underscore info. For the path, we'll go ahead and go with event dash info. We don't want to make this the home page. We want this variant type to be panel. And we're not going to worry about the optional features. Let's go ahead and click continue. And for our category, let's go with 2 columns. This format will work just fine. If you're unfamiliar with panels, this is the 2 areas that we're going to be allowed to place content in. The important thing to note is this is for the main content area of your website. This does not include sidebars. So this is not sidebar content. This is sidebar over here as usual. And then this main area of content is going to be split simply into 2 columns. So we'll click continue there. And everything on this page should be fine. We don't need to add any custom CSS codes or IDs. Now we have the page where we can begin adding content to this panel page. We see this is obviously going to be the right side and this is going to be the left side. Let's say we want the event previews on the left side and the actual list of events on the right side. For the title, we'll stick with event information as we've been using. We're going to click on this gear icon and choose add content. We're going to go to views and we want event info for this column. For the display, we're going to choose our block that we created. We can override the title of this from what we established in the view if we want, but everything should be fine. So all of this we're going to leave blank and choose finish. Now we're going to tell it what content we want on the right side. So we're going to click the gear icon, add content. Once again, we're using a view that we've created. And this is going to be our events view. And the specific display of our events view that we're using is going to be our block. No need for any settings here. Click finish. And finish once again. And then make sure you click update and save. Now, I do have some slightly bad news for you. In the current version of panels that I'm using in this tutorial, there is a bug that's causing the content not to display in some cases. So we're going to go to the path of the panel page we just created, event info, and I see nothing on my screen. You may see nothing as well. If you're going through this tutorial at a time that they've fixed this in panels, you may well see your information as you would expect, but some of you may not. That's something that needs to be fixed in panels, and I assume and would hope that the panels team is working on that right now. We're going to go ahead and keep this panel, however, because as we upgrade to Drupal 7, even if there's a problem with the Drupal 7 version of panels, we should still be able to come back to site building and panels and see that our events and event info panel information is at least saved in the system, regardless of whether it's having problems displaying the content. So I apologize for that slight inconvenience, but it shouldn't affect this tutorial and it shouldn't affect our upgrade process. Now, with this very simple panel page created, we're ready to begin the upgrade process going from Drupal 6 to Drupal 7.